Okay, and with that, we will turn to public input, and we have a number of people here tonight, so I am going to review what our policy is for public input. So I'd ask everyone just please to bear with me. It is an opportunity for the committee to hear from citizens on agenda items or other items of interest within the committee's scope of responsibility. To accommodate all wanting to speak while also ensuring the committee's ability to conduct the district's public business. We do have a policy and guidelines for public input. All of that is online, but just a quick summary for anybody who's not familiar. When I call your name, I'd ask you to just please come forward to the table and identify yourself with your name and address. You may speak for up to 3 minutes. We do have someone who will provide helpful notifications. I'd ask people to please be kind to our Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Administration as he helps me to watch the clock on those things. We welcome objective and constructive criticism of school operations and programs, but I will not entertain any complaints of school personnel or any member of our school community in public session. Improper conduct and or use of defamatory or abusive remarks will not be tolerated. I ask everyone to direct your comments to the committee through the chair. We do not have a back and forth during public input in order to be in compliance with open meeting law. Any questions or clarifications that a committee member may have on input will be done in our response to public input. So we'll take all the input first, and then if any members have any questions or response, we will do that in the response to public input. And we cannot engage in a dialogue for items that aren't on the agenda. Again, simply to be in compliance with open meeting law, where we need to post for what we are talking about in the open meeting. And with that, I will turn to the list. And the first person, I believe, is Mr. Coleman.
Thank you. I'm a product of the Andover school system, as you are. I've known Dee Dee since I was 3.5 years old. Her dear mother taught me how to swim. Now we're 39, the same age as Jack Benny. I want to remind you, I work for Justice Blackmun with the Supreme Court and the Secretary of Education. I have First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, and the Constitution. Also, you are all elected members and public officials under the law. Justice Blackmun, when I was working there in the next office, Justice Brennan wrote the opinion that public officials can be criticized publicly for specific issues, not about their personal life or their practice or their business, but the issues they've been involved in at hand. And the snow job you delivered to us tonight, I can tell you, and I've gone to many school committee meetings, and I had 8th grade English here, is unacceptable. And I will not vote for any one of you, and I will vote to defeat all 5 of you. There was character assassination that took place Friday. And I fear for all these young principals behind me, if they have to worry about their personal records being exposed in the Eagle Tribune and the Townsman, was absolutely horrible.
Absolutely.
Horrible. I feel bad for all of you union members.
Mr. Coleman, you have 3 minutes.
No, I have more than that.
And I would ask you, please,
Yes.
not to be interrupted.
Yes, but what Shelley did, he should be terminated tonight. That was character assassination, and the Boston Globe is going to have my quotes
I'm
tomorrow.
sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
Furthermore, I called for the resignation of Paul Murphy
Okay.
and the town manager. I have a legal right to say that for what he did with the script program. He is a relative that is collecting payment in lieu of taxes in violation of law. What's happening? In violation of law, and you should resign tonight.
That is not-
He's
that
been
is
aware
not
of this for a year.
business of the
Yes,
school
it is.
committee.
And the town manager has too.
I'm gonna
But I
ask
just
you
want to
to
say
stop.
one last thing. I was on the Andover football team, and I had Coach Collins as my coach. And I am here. We have a brotherhood. And those kids that are on a team, I'm over 60 now. I don't have a brother and sister. They might have to turn to a brother or a sister in a team if they have a death in the family, if they have a divorce, if they've lost their job, if they're in need of money. they will turn to their brothers in the team. And I can remember distinctly, and many of us weren't Christians on the football team. We were all religions. And we did the Lord's Prayer every day before a game. And Coach Collins said, look to the left. You remember Coach Collins. Look to the right. You may need your brother someday. And that's why I'm here today. And I don't know if you played any sports in school, but I did. And it meant a lot to me. And my coach meant a lot to me. I learned. And I'll tell you another thing. I worked at McDonald's. Do you know, and Jay Leno did with me too, we can't get one Andover kid to work at McDonald's or Burger King, and I see kids begging in front of Brugger's Bagels and in front of the coffee shop last Saturday and Sunday the Sabbath. This is unacceptable. And these kids are wearing $250 boots from Australia. Get those kids a job, and they might respect. Who are you?
Excuse me.
My last question.
Officer, please.
Where is the $70,000 coming from? Will you tell me that? One light item.
Your 3 minutes are up.
Where is the $70,000 coming from?
Thank you.
You should be ashamed of yourself. You're forcing my mother out of town. And I hope the Tribune quotes it. That's how disgusting you are, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Okay.
Put that in the Tribune. You're
Ursula?
supporting Shelley. for
Ursula
character.
first. Good evening, everyone.
My name is Ursula Fury Perry, 77 Cross. Try to follow that. I am here to tell you a much more positive message. I wanted to tell you about the Monday volleyball game. I have a child who's on the team. And he also has a job, by the way. He and his teammates had a wonderful experience on Monday. It was obviously the first home game that we had after everything happened. There was a real clear air of positivity and poise. There was mutual respect between the coaches and the kids. Everyone was great. And that gives me hope. And in general, I was very impressed with how poised and positive these players remained through all of this. And I hope that the adults can follow suit and that this community can move on and heal. And if you'd like to support the kids, we have another home game tomorrow, 4 o'clock for JV, and varsity follows immediately after, 5:30 just about. We'd love to have some extra cheering section there, so thank you.
Thank you. Teresa Shermer?
Teresa Shermer, 80 Central Street. A little bit different. I wanted to speak to you about, last June you had the Carroll administration in front of you, and they spoke to you in a workshop for 2 hours. And then Andover, my understanding is we entered into a memo of understanding then to move forward doing a pilot research program in the Andover Public Schools. So I just want to look back then over the last academic year, and I'm curious as to when we're receiving a report about how things are going there. I understand there's a literacy report on May 24th, but I'm interested in how many children have received this targeted cognitive intervention, what the results are, how many schools are doing it. I don't feel like I have enough information, and I'd really welcome that. And the school committee, I think, was very positive about that last June when they moved forward. And there was no definitive date of how long the MOU was going to be lasting, so I just wanted to get that information as well.
Okay.
Second item that I wanted to speak about was, in this time of budget talks, I like to look through and see exactly where the money's going, and I'm having difficulty understanding the legal expenses. And especially in light of the things that have gone on in the town in the last few months, it's hard to delineate, is the special ed costs in the legal costs? Is it union? Is it negotiation? What's going on with that legal bill? And a few years ago, I put together sped costs and looked at that and was able to graph it and compare it to other communities. And I think that's a responsible thing to do for our committee. I also think that we now have the privilege of Ms. Bruce, with her legal background, to come in and look at what legal counsel we have representing the town. And are they the right fit? And any time that we're spending money, I think it's a great time to start to assess what are we receiving? Are they the right fit for us? Are there better competitors out there in a free market? But that's something that hasn't been done. Ted Teichert asked for it. There's a number of community members. If you need a petition, I can get a number of community members to sign that this is important to them as well. So I'm just moving forward saying Ted had broached it, I think, for 2 years running, and it had been pushed off. And I'm asking the committee now to, again, look at legal counsel, but also look at the legal costs, and let's make educated decisions moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you. Sam Washburn?
Good evening. I'm Sam Washburn, 39 Oriole Drive. I've had 3 children go through the schools in Andover. One had Coach Perry as a teacher in 5th grade. Another was coached by Coach Perry throughout his life. So I've some personal experience with, let's call this Perrygate. I'm totally disgusted with what has been exposed here. And as a school committee, you guys are now in this, and you're responsible. As they say, responsibility flows uphill. So all of you are now involved in this, and it's not going to go away. A few things have been exposed here. One is, in my opinion, gross incompetence on the part of the administration. The athletic director, the superintendent, releasing an internal personal memo, which was basically a character assassination hack job about Mr. Perry to the Eagle Tribune, is one of the most disgusting acts that I have observed in this town, okay? It either indicates gross incompetence on the part of the person who released it, or evil intent, and I don't know which it is. I did read in the newspaper that that the reporters who received that letter, and that was not the letter they were expecting to get, called back and left messages for both the athletic director and the superintendent at 9 o'clock, a few hours after that letter, that email was sent. Neither of those administrators of this school called that person back or recontacted that reporter, according to the press report. Now, during an episode with this much importance, this much controversy, I and any normal human being I know would be checking my messages and my email until I went to bed. Now, I do not believe that those 2 administrators did not get that message. And I think my only conclusion that I can come to is that they didn't want to withdraw that letter. They wanted to wait till after the publication deadline of the Eagle Tribune had passed so that it would be in the paper the next day. That means that the intent, if I'm right, I hope I'm not, but if I'm right, the intent was to character assassinate E.J. Perry. And the question I ask to you, sir, is your apology is very nice here in the meeting, okay? And they published your apology in the Eagle Tribune. What are you going to do? What active steps are you going to take to help resuscitate the reputation of E.J. Perry, who is extremely popular in this town, who has helped many people and many children in this town? You have ruined the rest of his life by your action.
Very possible.
Do you understand that? Do you admit that?
Excuse me, sir, thank you.
No, I have 30 seconds left.
You have now 12.
Yeah. So what I'm asking
No,
you is,
there is no back
what are
and
you
forth
going to do
Q&A. Thank
to
you.
help resuscitate his reputation and undo what you did by releasing that memo? Thank you.
Richard Streeter, if you're here to talk about the superintendent, I'm sorry, I'm not going to
I'm
entertain
going to sit down and say what I came to say. I've been a town resident for 40 years. My name is Richard Streeter, 36 William Street in town. I went to Andover Public Schools my whole life. I have 7 children. All have attended public schools in Andover. Some presently still do, some don't at this point. I've actually pulled them out. Like a couple of the people before me, this incident in the paper, it's not a coach issue, in my opinion. It's an incompetence issue. That letter was private, confidential information, as I understand it, as was reported. That letter was under contract, required to be kept confidential. So at the very least, Shelley Berman breached a contract agreement, as far as I know, with the teachers union. Second, the information on that letter that was released very likely will never be able to be fully retracted by anybody and anybody's best effort, including Dr. Berman's, which to me is reprehensible and puts Coach Perry in a position that he cannot mend. There's nothing he can do to fix that. It doesn't matter what somebody might say. You'll never know how it's impacted his career, his family, or his reputation in town. He's got children in town that go back decades, brothers in town that go back decades. Unbelievable that this happens in this town by someone like the superintendent of schools, who's put in a position of authority and very well paid to act at a level of a CEO. And this is inexcusable behavior. And I would like Shelley Berman to resign his post in short of his resignation, I would like this committee to terminate his contract. And that's what I'm calling for. That's what I will continue to push for. I will set up a petition, and I'll make it available. I think it's disgusting. If it was my wife, my colleague, my brother, just disgusting.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Any response?
I should respond to a couple of things, but do you want to respond first?
You may respond if you'd like to.
Well, there are a couple of things. First of all, in terms of the question that Teresa asked around legal costs, we have filed a report around legal costs each of the last 2 years and delineated which were special ed and negotiations and have that delineation if you'd like to see it. So I can get that to you. And we will do that again at the end of this year when we, it probably won't be available until after the close of the books, but we will provide that. You know, let me just also say, in answer to a couple of questions. One is that the calls didn't go to the athletic director, but the calls from the paper actually went to me and to the high school principal. The principal had actually was not feeling well and went to sleep and missed the calls. I plugged my phone in. I kept it on for quite a while. It came at about 9:37. Was a call, one call. That was all the one I received. I then saw it at around midnight when I actually looked at my phone again. I thought that this was over. I deeply regret the issuing of that letter. I understand people's feelings. I think it is a very difficult thing to look at and say that I made that mistake. There were several other emails that I sent where the letter to parents that had gone to parents, and I attached those and sent those. I thought I was attaching the same thing, which is what the reporter asked for. I made that mistake, and I understand its implications. I do think, though, that both my statement and even Phil Conrad's statement in the letter says a lot of positives about Coach Perry, and I think that over time we will move on and
Excuse me. You will leave if, thank you very much.
This is a disgrace.
You're a liability.
It is a disgrace. You
You cannot
I'm leaving, yeah.
You cannot
retract. You're not facing, you're not, as a committee, you're
You
not
cannot
facing the
retract
issue.
what you've done. I understand you might like to, and I sincerely appreciate that. I do.
Carla, please still out here, please.
But what you've done is not something that can be retracted. His reputation, and you may have the sincerest intent in your heart to say that you'd love to retract it, but you cannot retract it at this point. And it's a shame that it happened to begin with. There are many people that handle very sensitive information in their daily ongoings. There's medical, legal, defense administration information. This all gets handled by people carefully. They can be arrested for it. You know, understand?
Thank you.
This really does apply to you,
You got it.
and you really need to think about resigning. And if you don't, the school committee really needs to think about playing their role in terminating you.
Have a good night.
You're a liability.
If you're going to continue the outburst, Mr. and
All
Mrs.
right,
Gillette,
that
you
was my
need to
last
go
one.
as well. Okay? Thank you.
I do believe that part of what we need to do, I want to go back to Joel's statement earlier, that we have some work to do around athletics. And I think the school committee's work on that over the next number of months will be critical in terms of framing where we go and the kinds of expectations we have of coaches. And I think that will make a difference for all of us.
Anybody else? No? I just want to say that in addition to teachers and staff and coaches, the primary responsibility for the school committee is our children. And I am deeply dismayed that anybody would put a child in a position where they wouldn't feel comfortable coming forth with something and to make a judgment on that. I think that is a terrible position in light of everything that we see going on nationally and internationally in this country. And I look forward to working to make sure that not only we have the best programs, but that our kids feel safe and feel like they can go to people they trust and express when something is wrong. Because there have been far too many years and far too many long when people have not felt safe and have lived with a lot of things over a lot of different institutions. And with that, we will move on.